Hey, Ronnie Neuhauser here at my home studio. Starting this series that I was talking about, kind of previewing these CDs, my discography basically, one CD at a time or DVD at a time. And the first one I'm choosing to do is this one right here. It's called Nocheez Orchestra, that project that I do. And it's called Warren Pom Poms. And here is the CD. Right up there. Oh. That right there. Interesting cover, I think. Anyway, so the first thing about like Nocheez Orchestra, the one thing that I think it's a very theatrical band. In fact, a lot of the music that we do at Nocheez, I have is inserted into my rock opera that I've written called Simplex One. And so to me, there really is a visual aspect to it, and I'd love to do that someday. Hopefully I haven't done the rock opera yet, or just made some really cool videos for these, except for live stuff that we have for these some of these pieces. But I want to go through the songs, just explain, a little bit what Nocheez is about, and what some of the songs are about, just to give you an idea. So one thing about this, you'll notice there are a lot of characters. Like there's the theater part, I guess, in there. One main character on this that kind of ties all the songs together. It was actually done through improvisation. I was throwing out ideas to this rapper called Muscle Mouth, and he was kind of improvising off the ideas. And the ideas were based on each of the songs, and it was really cool. I would put these little pieces in between the songs to kind of connect them. And I gave him a title. This character's title is the, let me read this in. The Automaton Consumer Munchbot. Okay? So he pretty much is a character that kind of says like all the absurd things that you might hear certain people say on a day-to-day basis. Seems to happen an awful lot. Anyway, so he's one of the main characters, and that's another thing at Nocheez. You'll see a lot of characters, and they pop up on different CDs. Like I have this evil Nazi mad scientist character who kind of represents the establishment and any oppressive institution, basically. That he's representing those types of things, and he'll pop up there, and there's a little message in there. There's always something interesting going on. I think there's a cross-pollination on all the CDs that you can, if you listen carefully, go, oh wow, that's. That means that from that CD, and it adds more meaning, more depth to like another CD or another song. So I feel like these characters are a very integral part of the music. Well, let me just go through the music. So the first song on the CD is called Mr. Mouth, and so I really like this arrangement. But it's basically about news media talking heads and a lot of at times, the gibberish they spew and how painful it might be to listen to it. So that's what that song's about, and maybe how they're trying to gear you to think a particular way and not always offering maybe the information they should offer. And then the Automaton Consumer Munchbot pops up, and he's does a thing called Fair and Balanced. A lot of these are silly. There's definitely humor mixed into it. I try to do that because some of the subjects I actually talk about are very serious to me, and sometimes when you talk about stuff like that, you've almost got to make a joke out of it, because if you don't, you'll cry. So that's why I have some of the humor mixed in. And there's a tune called "Burned by the Bush," pretty self-explanatory. By the way, this CD was released in 2006, right during that era. And don't worry, I'm not one-sided when it comes to this. I really don't have any political affiliation. I pretty much would rather consider myself a seeker of truth. So I'm pretty much an equal opportunity hater for all leadership. I find them pretty destructive often. Anyway, so then there's a piece called, let me get the list out here. Oh, Simplex One. Now there's 3 simplexes on the CD, and of course I mentioned earlier that it is also the name of my avant-garde, rock, funk, whatever it is, opera. And the first one is a dialogue, so it's a really nasty groove set to some really cool dialogue. with characters. The evil Nazi mad scientist is in there. There's a newspaper boy. There's a whole bunch of characters that kind of tell this interesting story that's about what I find to be the devastation of consumerism and getting too caught up in that. And then we move on to a song called Periphery, which is about downtrodden artists. And there's a lot of you artists out there that you know what I'm talking about. It's a very harsh business, not always, obviously not always fair, like nothing is, but it's just about hoping people will open up and bringing a lot of the artists that are on the outskirts that are doing things that are a little different are less accepted and tend to make less money. Okay, and I'm not all about money, but when you do your craft, you would like to, you know, make some of it so you could survive. Only the reason I want to make some money is so I can continue to do it and do it more often, spend more time on it. Okay, that's the reason. But so to open people up and say, you know, look at what's out on the periphery, and let's try to bring it into the fold, make it a little more fair, so we're not just governed by this very formulaic music. And I personally, I think there's more in it for you as a listener. You know, I don't want to sell you short. Listen, I could, you know, but I don't know if I can. Maybe I can't do it. But I'm not going to write something I don't believe in, or just go by some formula and say, well, you know, the masses will like this if I do this or do that. I've never taken part in that. I don't care. I do it for myself. This is my journey. But I'd love you to come along for the journey and listen to some of that. You know, I think that's really important. You know, that I think you'll get more out of it. Like, you know, I'm having more faith in you actually as a music listener and consumer. So anyway, that's what that song's about. And then a song called 200-Year-Old Dead Guys, which continues about the pretty much downtrodden musicians. You know, a little joke in there. You know, you used to play for the King and now you play for Pepsi. You know, that kind of thing. Then there's some more automaton munchbot interjections into a song called Do Re Mi, which it talks about consumerism, but I think it's a lot bigger than that. I think it's about how, well, it is. It's about how we value ourselves through items. It's a thing that I don't really believe in. I don't think that's how we should present ourselves. I don't think it matters. I think it really matters how, you know, are you a good person? Yeah. But so I think that's it's about that just maybe finding the right values, you know, human values, that we care about each other and we raise each other up and we help each other, and maybe some of the things that we get caught up in now really aren't the important things. And also about, you know, if you're living by the do re mi life, you know, the major scale, the simple, the formula right by it, then are you really thinking for yourself? Are you really thinking about, are these things that I'm just doing because it's the status quo and I've been raised into that, I've been brought up by that? Or am I doing it because that's something I really want to do, it's something I really find important? So those are, you know, life questions, right? We all have to ask those questions. Or we hope we do, right? Then we come to Simplex 2, the second part. And that's actually it's kind of a musical retort to Simplex 1. It has I think I really enjoyed the guitar solo I did in it. It was actually recorded live at Daniel Street, this particular piece. There's two pieces that were recorded live and brought on the CD, and we did add some vocals to another piece. But it's kind of the retort against this consumerism, you know? Like a really visceral response with the guitar. And my solo was, I really like the phrasing of it. It was real, it's a real nasty solo, you know, and frenetic. And I think that's what that subject really calls for. Then we moved on to a song called, I'm not going to spoil it for you, there's a blank on there, The Blank Terrorist. And I really don't want to tell you anything about it because I'd rather you, it would ruin it, because you really don't find out what I'm speaking about until the very last line of the piece. It's actually a spoken word piece over a groove. Then we move on to War and Pom Poms, which I wrote prior to the invasion of Afghanistan and Iraq, because I felt like people weren't evaluating, they were kind of basing everything off their fears. and not evaluating whether those were good ideas to do it or not, and that maybe we shouldn't get all caught up like that. We really should think things out first, because there can be really bad ramifications. So that piece addresses that. Some of you people may not like this next title, but that's how I felt at the time. Bush is a fool. Again, I feel like a lot of leaders are. If they're not fools, they're manipulators, which is probably even worse. Then, and on to Simplex 3.
I like ketchup juice. You know that little bottle, you
And,
know, you buy a new bottle of ketchup, you bring it
yeah, I'll
home,
just
you
let
put
you
it in
hear
the
that
cupboard
one
and
and
sit
see,
there for a
see what you
couple
think
of
about that.
days.
Hopefully you'll
Then
pick
you're
up the
like,
CD,
I
you
think
know,
I want
and
me a
get that.
gristle burger.
And
So you
the
take
final
the
song
gristle
on the
burger
CD is
and you put
called
it-
Forgotten. And I think, to me, that's... There's parts of the song that are dark, but I think there's the hope in the CD. Because, you know, some of the stuff I'm talking about, you know, they're... Again, I try to make it funny, too. But they're serious. And Forgotten, I think, is the hope that we look to the forgotten. Look to the least among us, the people who suffer the worst. And, you know, how do we treat those people? I think that's really important. That may be one of the answers that could lead to at least a better world, right? We hope. Anyway, yeah, Nocheez Orchestra, War and Pom Poms, and I really like the CD. You know, I've done the work all for me, so I guess I would like my CDs anyway. I hope, right? And I mean, I have critiques here and there, you know, but I hope you'll pick it up. And I hope you get something out of it, most important part. But, thanks.